Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome back, episode 143. I don't know if I'm underdressed or you're overdressed, but we're dressed differently.
You know, I might have made a mistake. I thought you said dress appropriately, and this is just what I decided to wear.
Is that just what you wear all the time?
Yeah,
So, like,
every day. This is what no.
what I'm imagining is what I'm imagining is like when you go and like present and you're wearing like a cutoff and like sweats. That's what you do to present. But when you're in the gym, you've got this on, like you've got it the wrong way around.
This is what I do deadlifts in this. So I just got done deadlifting. These are very stretchy. So no, we had a camera crew here today at TrustedSec. So the leadership team came in and we did just kind of some filming around the Forrester wave report that came out, and just kind of like what that means to us and like some other stuff that we can do, for like filming and stuff like that. But it's funny because the marketing team was like, wear something that isn't clashing, but they didn't say like don't dress up or do dress up. So we have a wide range of people dressed up today in t-shirts and suits. So so Aaron dresses like super nice, and then I'm like, well, I must have to dress up nice too, because I didn't read the email at all. And so then I just anyways, it was fine. So I am dressed up for long story short, I'm dressed up for the podcast.
Okay, well, I did not dress up for the podcast, but maybe one day I will.
That's right. We should just like wear a full tux.
I'll come in like a Halloween costume, dressed as like an inflatable banana or something one day. So well, good.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if can you disclose what the conversation was, or does it have to come out to the public first? Or
no, it was just more so like origin stories of TrustedSec and what it means to kind of go from a company in the basement of our house to being able to build multiple successful businesses. But obviously TrustedSec being named number one in the Forrester wave was a huge win for us, and kind of testament of what we do, how we do things. And I think a great conversation for today, which is going to be how you can really prioritize your life and do things that you want to do that will make you stronger and better. I think that's kind of the lesson here at TrustedSec, is that when I first started the company, I had no idea how to register an LLC, had no idea what an MSA or statement of work was. Really didn't know what the heck I was doing. And, you figure it out, you believe in yourself, and you push yourself to new heights and limits that you thought you could never do before. And then from there, things just happen. Right. And I think that's one of the coolest things that you can ever accomplish in life is, building something that's yours, regardless if it's a new business or a new hobby or something you go and do, like just something that you can claim your own. I think that's really cool.
Yeah, I agree. And I'll actually go back. I had a conversation with Jason earlier on today, and we were talking about how you're meant to suck at things whenever you first start them, and like that's okay. So talking about training and other bits and pieces. And last week I met one of my very original very first clients that I coached on the gym floor, another guy called Jason, and I always laugh and joke with him. Like I started coaching in December, and he came on board in January. And I actually still have some of like the stuff that I sent him of like the plans and stuff and the way that it was done. And I look back and I'm like, oh man, like how far things have come. But like, it's okay to suck at things and be not the best at it whenever you initially start, and just, I guess, fuck around and find out and continue to progress on it.
That's the thing. Like my kids, I always try to relate this to like adults are big kids. Right. And so you can look at a lot
especially us.
Yeah. That's like Aaron literally is still married to a 12-year-old, but it's one of those things where like you can look at patterns of behavior in children and relate that to adults as well, because yes, we may know a little bit more that we think we do, but at the end of the day, that raw emotion that you see from kids is the same raw emotion that we have when we're adults. And when you see a kid doing something for the very first time, they're so frustrated. They're pissed that they're not experts. It's like, the first video game they go and play, they're like, oh my God, then they nonstop practice. They're on that thing 12 hours a day until 2:00 in the morning. And now they're competing at a high level because they've put literally thousands of hours into something that, they like doing. Well, yeah, that's a good life lesson right there of anything that you apply yourself to that is of interest to you, or that you can change your mind or frame your mind to enjoy or like doing that. You're going to be successful at it, but you're going to suck so bad at first. Like you're going to be the worst possible person you can ever possibly meet. And even in like weightlifting, I was at Orange Theory today, and there was a new instructor. Her name was April, and we did this like really weird exercise It was like you have to like put your arms out and like balance on one leg and push forward. And normally I would just like skip it and do something different, like an RDL, which they don't like. But
thanks for the advice, but I'm just going to do a deadlift. I brought my own bar with 600 pounds on it.
They've accepted it, but this is a new person, so like I'm not going to rock the boat with this new person right away. Like it's funny because every Monday now, is technically my arms day, right? If I can get it in, right? It's like an optional arms day, basically, which is not optional. But what I've been doing now is I have a good solid 30 minutes in the gym at Orange Theory, so I get my arms knocked out. So even if it's a legs day, I just destroy my arms, like and it's high repetition, high volume, like I'm going through. So I don't even do the workout anymore on Mondays. And there's a guy there, his name is Joe. And Joe's like, I just see you working out there. He's like, I'm never gonna say shit to you, dude. You're like, you're good. You're like, you know what you're doing. And he's like, I obviously have nothing I can opine with based on how you look. So, but it's interesting because, obviously I do a lot of weightlifting. I do a lot of this exercising. I'm always trying to get better. And I'm never perfect at anything, but I'm pretty good at certain things. But when you're doing a new movement, especially one that you haven't practiced for, I look like a friggin' ostrich, like one-legged ostrich, like moving around like this, and she's like, hey, it looks pretty good, I guess. You're a lengthy person. I'm like, yeah, this is not working for me. So, you can't expect to be good at everything all the time. And as you try something different, it's always going to be, a challenge for you. And it's the people that are successful, the people that have results, the people that do something different are the ones that push through that adversity within themselves and continue to push forward, knowing that they suck horribly at something, but hopefully down the road, whether it's a month, 6 months, 2 years, 10 years, 15 years, it's going to be different, right? And that's a big gamble for a lot of people. That's really tough to do.
Yeah, I think I think the thing about it is like you will be the only way you cannot be successful in something is if you stop doing it, like if you quit. And I think that's where people go wrong. They just get to the point where they're just like, fuck this, I'm not doing it anymore. And even if I think to us with the podcast, like potentially, well, definitely speaking wasn't something that you hadn't done, where it was something that I hadn't done in terms of like recording and putting it on the internet and whatever else. We're now 143 episodes in. I feel like I'm definitely getting a little bit better. But I was nervous when we did the first one for no reason other than it was something that was slightly different. Like you and I had a call and had many conversations, and I have had lots of conversations on a video call, but because we were hitting record and because it was going on the internet, it was now something completely brand new. So it was definitely different. And I think just over time from continuing to do it, I have gotten better. We have gotten better. The dynamic with Ben and Dave and the podcast and showing up. And this week we also have plans. So 2 weeks in a row, now 143 weeks in, we definitely have gotten better of having plans.
Yeah. And it's that, again, that repetition that makes a big difference. But before we get into the topic, like, how are you doing, man?
I am very well. Believe it or not, this is actually the fourth podcast I've recorded today.
Are you burned out yet?
I would say, no, I actually feel good. I've had, so before the end of May, I'm going to start releasing the digital interactions episodes. And what they are essentially is me having a conversation with somebody else on the team. So I've recorded with Justin, I've recorded with Bobby, Mike, Levi. Today I've recorded with Monica, Jason, and Rashid. So I've done 7. And what I'm excited about is being able to, for them, giving them a platform to share their stories, because I think there will be so many different points from so many different people that other people will be able to relate to. But the one thing from today specifically that was such a great reminder is just, and these things are not prompted whatsoever. Like I do have questions that I go through, but just some of the things that people said and the kind words that people said about what we're doing and what I've been able to help them achieve was just a huge reminder as to, number one, how far this has come from an idea as to like, should we do a podcast 140 some weeks ago, to the impact that we have been able to have on those people directly, on the people who listen to the podcast, on the people that I coach and the people around them. Like it's something that I don't believe we will ever be able to put a number on. And it's very cool for me to just be a guy here talking to a friend in America, sharing our stories, information, knowledge, and the impact that has on the people around us. It's not something I ever thought that I would be in a position to do. So in answer to your question, I'm feeling grateful to be able to help and work with the people that I do. Like I work with some fucking cool people. And I feel excited to be able to share their stories. Hopefully we'll start getting them out towards the end of the month.
Yeah, I think that's so. There's two things there. One, you start off with something that you had no idea what you're doing, nor did you understand the impact or reach is going to have, nor did you understand what it would evolve to. And that's exactly what I just discussed with the whole TrustedSec story, which was, had no idea what I was doing, had no idea the reach I'd have. I know Aaron and I had talked, and it's like, if we get to like 10 to 15 people, oh my God, like how are we going to even manage that, right? And now we're, 150 people. And then I got another 100, or 250 people over at Binary. It's like, yeah, we're kind of hit that 400 mark now at this point, and what goes on then? So, I think the problem that most people face, in this, I think about this all the time. Everybody gives me the question of, well, how are you able to do so much by yourself? I'm like, well, here's the thing. It's not by myself. Like, when you start off with a new company, yeah, it's by yourself, but I was never alone. I had Erin there, and she was doing the finances, and, you kind of figure it out as you go along, and you prioritize what's important. If you were to relate this back to, if you're just starting your career off in cybersecurity, someone may come to you and say, well, how did you become successful in cybersecurity? Well, I literally fixated on cybersecurity and made it my hobby. And I just figured out cool stuff that was fun to me, right? And I released new tools that no one had ever done before. I had done research into an area that no one had done. At that time was PowerShell. I was just remembering one of the old techniques I used to use that was in Windows. It was in Windows 2000 and below, and in Windows XP as well. And I think it was in Server 2003, but they removed it. But it was when you compromise a host, you need a way to deliver what you call your payload or your attack onto the system itself to get what's called a command and control. And back in the day, that was actually really easy to do in many cases. But if you're doing something like a web application where you find something like what's called SQL injection, which allows you to interface with the backend database, you couldn't just like upload or download a file. You had to figure out a way to get your code onto there. We didn't have like scripting languages like PowerShell, for example. And so I remember there was this technique that I figured out. It was actually from a old blog post from Ill Will, who's a really well-known hacker in the industry, and he had like a article he had wrote on something on using this thing called Windows Debug to convert something back into a binary. Like you could take like hexadecimal and convert it back to a binary, but there was like a 32 kilobyte restriction. And I remember, like all of the Metasploit payloads were so large at that time. And so like I needed more than like 32 kilobytes of space. I needed like, 512 kilobytes of space to drop my payload onto there. And so I remember like sitting there trying to rack my brain on, could I create a new, novel technique that no one had ever done before? And so what I did is I built basically a Windows debug that didn't have the 32 kilobyte restrictions, that was 20 kilobytes in size. So I dropped that on the system first. Then I would use that to convert my next payload, which was 500 kilobytes in size, because I removed the restriction because I had a smaller one that I built. So, it was just like figuring out new ways, because I would home in on it. It was a challenge. It was a problem. It was something that I didn't know how to do it, but I sat there with enough persistence and learning from, either articles or just my own research or what I was doing to come up with a new technique that had never been done before. And I presented at DEF CON with it and everything else. And then eventually Windows removed it, which was great. I removed an attack surface. Well, it kind of sucked, but at the same time, it was great. But it's those types of things. Like if you're looking at trying to become successful in whatever you're doing, whether it's cybersecurity or business or whatever, one, having the belief in yourself that you can do it, but two, recognizing that you're going to go through a lot of pain, suffering, and agony, to get there in your own head, and you have to fight those demons to push forward. And I think what a lot of people really struggle with is like, there's just so much out there. Like if you look at the cybersecurity industry, it's like new research being published every day, new exploits, whatever. But like, if you don't focus in on things that you like, then it's just going to be the scatterbrain stuff of things that are out there. You're not going to be able to home in on your trade craft or your profession, and you're not going to be great at it. So, I made my hobby starting a business, right? And that required me to be an amazing hacker. It required me to be a CEO. It required me to be a salesperson. It required me to be HR. It required me to be everything that I didn't know how to do. But I went along and did and figured it out along the way, because it's what I had to do, and I had to prioritize myself to go and do it. So it's like those types of things you can kind of propel yourself forward with to get there. And it's funny because you mentioned earlier on the things that you had no idea what the impact was going to be in your own life. I think we rarely do, but we have an idea of something we want to build. We know it's going to work. It's just, how do we actually get there?
Yeah, agree. And actually, that reminds just what you said about, with so many things going on, being able to sort of focus and fixate on that one thing. A conversation I had with Monica earlier today, one of the pieces of advice that she gave was, whenever you pick the thing that you're going to do, just fucking stick to that thing, because there will be so much noise and other things and other people telling you what to do and giving you advice. So if it's like you pick a coach or you pick a training style or you pick a way to navigate your calories, block out everything else around you and just focus on that one thing, because you will get the people that whenever you start talking about, oh, I'm on this health and fitness journey, they'll start giving you your side. So you need to do this or you need to do keto or whatever else. And that's, again, what you're talking about, that sort of scatterbrain that you can get distracted by all of these other things. And I think that that's where people see their failures or where they struggle, because they start taking advice from too many different people and they don't actually execute on the thing that they're doing originally. Whereas if you just go, okay, look, this is the thing that I'm going to do. I'm going to commit to it for this long. And these are the results that I'm hoping to get, and actually just drown out the noise of everything else. So I think that relates on both sides.
Drowning out the noise. I think that's a good statement of drowning out the noise, right? And I think you get so hung up on big picture things that are happening in the world, big picture things that are happening maybe on social media or the latest fires. Like, I get hell a lot of time from people in the industry because I'm not like, going and commenting on every big drama fight that goes on in the industry or taking sides with one person or another. Like, I don't have time for that. Like, if I consume myself with that stuff, like, I would never get anything done. And I don't know how anybody that's always, arguing with one another ever gets anything done. Like, you might want to, look, introspectively around yourself and say, listen, maybe I can spend half the amount of time I do shit talking on Twitter and actually go in and actually fix something or do something better for either the world or your local community or your own profession or career
or yourself,
right? And I think that's where a lot of people get hung up on, is like the day-to-day distractions. They cannot see past that day, and they cannot see what tomorrow looks like or a month from now or 6 months from now. And that's one thing that I've always focused on, is like, I always remember, I always have this thing in my head. I'm sure it's because I'm obsessed with Back to the Future, but I always think about this thing. If I could go back, and I remember as a kid, I was sitting in my accounting class in high school, and I was failing out of high school. I hated school. I was always obsessed with computers. I was getting bullied left and right. I was getting my ass beat literally every day. And stuff was tough for me, right? Mentally, I was depressed. I didn't have confidence in myself. And I changed that obviously with going into the military and Marines, which instilled a lot of confidence in me. But I remember thinking like, hey, future Dave, if you're out there, could you like just come back in time really quick and just tell me things are going to work out okay, right? Because I was really in a rough state, and I always think about that, and I was like, well, if I could go back in time, I don't think I would tell that kid, even if I could do time travel or whatever, that things are going to be okay, because I want that kid to want to, fight and claw and push himself forward, because it's the unknowns, of myself that I had then that drove me tenfold harder, because I want it to be okay. Right. And I think, I always had a view of 6 years, 10 years, 15 years, like, hey, I need to find, a partner that I can settle down with to have kids. But at the same time, I need to build my career. What does that look like? I need to find a partner that, can also build her career and my career and still raise kids. And how's that going to work? And, how am I going to actually go and do this? And I was just getting interviewed for the Forrester thing downstairs. And, I told a story about when I started TrustedSec, right? When I actually left and I had, 4 months of rent in the bank, and that's all I had left. And that was literally our entire life savings, right? I probably could have dipped into a 401k a little bit, but there wasn't much in there. And so, I look back then, I'm like, that motherfucker Dave 12 years ago was a crazy
motherfucker.
Crazy motherfucker. Like, could you imagine, like, you're working for a global Fortune 1000 company. You're the youngest VP in Diebold history. You have everything going for you. You have DerbyCon going. You're a chief security officer. You have an amazing team. And you just broke the 6-figure mark. You're like the impossible outcome of somebody that failed out of high school, was supposed to be nothing, to you made it. Right. But that wasn't good enough, right? I was like, that's not good. That's not what I want to do. Like, I can do this for other people. I can help other people, and I believe in myself to go and do it. And my wife is there, and she believes in me too. And if the two of us can believe in each other, we're going to make this thing happen, right? And so I'm like, you know what? If I can get to 20 people, fantastic. Did I ever believe I was going to have 400 employees? Absolutely not. But I knew I was going to build a machine in my own head that was going to work, and I could do it. But I knew if I didn't do it now, especially in my 40s, I wouldn't ever do it again. So like, if I was working at Diebold right now, there's no effing way I would quit and start a company at 42 years old, right? But at 28 years old, 29 years old, okay, like this, I have one shot, the Eminem song, you only got one shot, right? Lose yourself. That's what I took because I could see the forward picture. And I think, obviously this is my story. This isn't, the listener's stories, but you need to look at what your outcome is and what you want to accomplish and how do you build things to get there. Now, if you say, hey, I want to win the lottery and be a billionaire, well, you better start buying hundreds of thousands of lottery tickets and know that you're probably not going to get that. Okay. But things that you can control are things that, like, for example, health and fitness, like those are things you can control. Like you can just, start looking at your biomarkers and blood work, getting blood work done. Hey, my goal is going to be to get blood work done quarterly. And my goal is to at least improve them in some way, shape or form, right? I want to get my ApoB down. I want to get, my cholesterol levels down. My LDL and HDL cholesterol is balanced out the right way. And the way that I'm going to do that is by executing a plan, by going to the gym 3 times a week and eating, properly and things like that, right? These are things that are tangibles, but you have to have a forward way of looking. And it's funny because Gavin's like, Dad, he's like, I lifted like consistently for like 4 months. I didn't see any results. I'm like, Gavin, you need to consistently lift for the rest of your life if you want to see the results you want. I'm like, you just don't stop doing it after 4 months and say, I didn't see any results, so I'm good. Like that doesn't work.
Weightlifting doesn't work.
Right. It doesn't work. It's just over. You didn't do anything, right? And what's crazy is like he started seeing like definition in his arms, and he was doing great. Like he saw he was going up in weights. He saw the results, but it wasn't good enough because it didn't happen immediately within those 4 months, right? Mm-hmm. Life is short, but it's long, right? And you have to play the long game when you go through all this.
Yeah, I think the touch on that is like, I don't think people have a long enough time horizon on anything. Like committing to something for 10 years, like I don't think people can fully get their head around like what you can actually achieve in that time. Before we get into the topic, I want to touch on something because it's something that I think about quite a lot. So you mentioned there that it's not good enough, and this is something I challenge myself on quite a lot because there's always a part of me of the like, okay, I understand where I'm at now, but it's not good enough and I always want more. And I know there will be people like, you need to recognize along the way the journey and appreciate what you've got and how far you've come and blah, 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 blah. But I don't think if I had that, it's not good enough and I want more, I would be in the position now. So how do you weigh up the recognizing how far you've come, appreciating what you have, but also always wanting to continue to do more? Like, I'm not saying where I'm at now is not good enough, but I do want more. Do you know what I mean? So how do you balance those things?
I think for me, that's a tough question because, I should look at where I'm currently at today and say, I did it and I'm done. Right. And I could sell my business tomorrow and go move on an island and never see anybody again and live happily ever after. And and have
island that's just one gym.
Just one gym. It's literally got my house and a gym. That's it. And I would create generational wealth for all my family. Right. But that's not what drives me as a person. Like what drives me isn't the fact that I can own an island and drive an amazing car and things like that. That's not what I look forward to. I still own one house. I have one house. I might have a couple extra cars just because I have a DeLorean, but we own 2 cars and a DeLorean, like we live very modestly. And that money goes back into the companies. It goes back into our people. And what I look at is, can I help out more people? Right. And I think that's always been kind of my mindset with both of these companies and the companies that I started is like, am I helping out other people? And it's a weird, I guess, drive in my mind that I have that like, I feel like I'm never doing enough to help other people. And I think a lot of that has to go down to my views of like, when I had that near-death experience in Iraq and I kind of looked at life and said, hey, it's precious. I need to take every minute, as a gift, not for granted. My drive is, can I grow these companies larger, knowing that my kids will be taken care of, but also can I impact the most amount of people positively and change their lives so that they can have a great life as well. Perfect strangers, don't care, like, inner city school districts, people in poverty, people that are being persecuted, whatever it ends up being. Like, I don't care what the cause is, as long as I can help them. Right. And so like the larger TrustedSec and binary has gotten, the more I've been helping our local community, more than I've been helping local groups, more I've been helping global groups, more I've been helping people that are in need. Like, if I see a GoFundMe where a friend, I'll anonymously donate, a ton of money and I don't tell people about it. I don't look for recognition about it. It's just, I knowing I'm helping that person out. Right. I do that all the time. Like, I hate seeing, GoFundMe's and stuff like that, but I love being able to be in a position where I can help somebody else and, and that's in need. So I think you have to find something that is a driver for you to always keep progressing forward, whether that's your mission or your goals in life that you want to accomplish. I feel like I've hit a lot of my goals. It's definitely never enough. I never want to stop, hitting my goals. I feel like once you like retire or whatever, like people just die, like they have no purpose, right? But I'm just enjoying the journey.
Your retirement plan is build a gym and then just be the the 90-year-old guy that owns the gym that's just fucking 100%. Doing deadlifts. Like
I will literally be like an extremely wealthy person that just runs one gym. That's me. Like, that's my goal. Like, I don't care about anything else running that gym.
Like, this motherfucker Dave has new equipment coming in this gym once a week. People be like signing queued up down the line. I think that
it's funny though. I don't want to like sit here saying that wealth is a big thing for me. It's not like I don't want to just brush over like, hey, I'm doing this for like a money. It's not the way at all. Like, I've given away more money than I could ever possibly imagine to people that need it. Right. That's not for me. My biggest thing is like live modest, live a good life, live comfortably. Obviously I have a lot of luxury with owning a DeLorean and having a gym, but I'm not out there just buying, Maseratis and Bugattis and have multiple houses and flying in private jets. Like that's not, who I am as a person. And, if I could use that money to help somebody else, to do better, that's what I'm gonna do. I just literally wrote, again, I'm just saying, I literally just wrote another check to Bedford High School for the next year's, cybersecurity program portion, which is it is a lot of money, and I don't get tax write-off. I mean, maybe I do get tax write-offs. So that's not why I'm doing it. But I mean, like I'm literally doing it because it's the right thing to do and helping these kids out. And we just had a kid in last week from Bedford that shadowed and mentored Tyler from Incident Response Team, David Boyd. Boyd had him shadowing him as well. So, teaching him cybersecurity, and we're going to have like 15 more students coming in shortly. So, it's like those types of things that I can impact that drive me to push, my companies forward more to do better things. Right. And if that means I'm 500 company, 1,000 person company, cool, awesome. But it's always progressing forward no matter what.
Yeah. And I think that I guess the message, and I relate to this as well, because obviously, we can relate both things to helping more people in around that the business does better. And the same for me. Like my goal is to help more people. Yes, I do get rewarded with that financially because it is a business, but that allows me to do more stuff for more people, whether it's on the inside in terms of the team and clients or help more people, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, partly I guess it's about what you focus on and the thing that drives you.
Yeah.
But it's never enough.
It is never enough. No way.
But that's good. But I don't think you would be in the position you're in right now if you just accept it. You think you would potentially still be working at the same company and you could have done that and lived the fucking great life, but it wouldn't have been enough. Not for Dave.
That's right.
Right. So today, the preparation is one line. How hacking your health can help you become a better hacker. And I think probably to give it a little bit of structure and not just go down tangents and rabbit holes, if we focus on the 4 pillars and what that means within the cybersecurity and hacking space, and like maybe not technically just related to hackers, but how you can be a better person, show up at work, et cetera, et cetera. So if we deal with the mindset portion first, and we talk about you specifically because I can use you as an example because we have lived it and done it over the past 3.5 years. So from a mindset perspective, the things that we've done, the things you've been able to achieve, how have you been able to translate that into what you do from a hacking perspective, from a business owner perspective? Like how has it helped you show up to be a better person?
Yeah. I mean, I think, it's such a good statement because it leads into when we talk about hacking your health, we talk about your fitness journeys. It's not just pushing a bunch of weights. It's not just, eating healthy. It's the mindset that you have to instill in yourself to want to improve and get better, right? And those disciplines can be applied not just to, your health and fitness, but also your success in life, whether that's with your family, whether that's with your business or jobs. I think for me, for one, hacking your health has been extremely beneficial. Before it was hacking your health, by the way, when we're coming up with the concepts, when it was just, BC family and BC training, I was already obviously successful in many ways, but I wasn't in others. And, I definitely wasn't operating as efficiently as I should. My health was taking a back burner to that. I had brain fog. I had a lot of other issues that were going on health-wise. And I definitely wasn't where I needed to be at, as a person. And what I started noticing is my prioritization of things completely changed. Like completely changed. I used to have to feel like I had to do everything. So I would, be up till 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning, making sure I meticulously responded to every single DM, every single message I had, every single text message, every single email, every single objective that I had, whether it was a client that was due or whatnot. And I started realizing, well, do I really need to be killing myself over all this, or do I need to compartmentalize this to actually do things that are important, i.e. weightlifting, i.e. focusing on other things, right?
Airsoft.
Right. But what I would say is that hacking your health, if you look down to how deep you want to get into it, you could be super deep like I am, reading, new medical studies that come out every night, or not. But it's about giving you the right tools that you need that can be applied to almost anything you do in life, right? And I think, go back to what we just talked about at the beginning of this podcast, where you have, your kids, where they first try something for the very first time and it's frustrating, right? You need tools mentally to prepare yourself for that journey, because your brain will tell you no, right? Your brain's like, nope, I'm not doing this. Well, no, actually, I'm in control here. You are going to do it. And this is how we're going to do it, right? Because I have this long-term goal and belief. And I think belief is more powerful than not doing it. So if you believe in something, regardless of what that is, whether it's religion, whether it's money, whether it's business, whether it's family, like family is a great example. I'm sure anybody listening to this podcast would do absolutely anything, including giving their own life for close family members. And maybe there's like an uncle that you really don't like a lot that you'd be debatable, but at the end of the day,
that gets really drunk and fucked up at all the family occasions that everyone's like, oh fuck.
Right. Maybe you might not take a bull, who knows? But you have a belief in your head that, let's just say your daughter or your son or your wife is in harm, or opposite, vice versa, your children are in harm, and you're a woman listening to this podcast. You would do absolutely anything to protect them, right? That's our goal as parents, is to protect our families, right? Mm-hmm. And that's a belief, though. That belief trumps anything in your mind, anything. Like, all rationale goes out the window. If you see it all the time, and there are horrible stories where you see a father that dies trying to save his 2 kids that are drowning, right? But at that minute in time, you don't care about living or dying. All you care about is that objective of saving your family, because that is what's most important to you. Now, I understand this is a pretty deep conversation and extreme. Okay, I don't want to get too down in the thing there, but think about that immovable belief right there, and applying that immovable belief to something else. And if you can apply that immovable belief to something else in your life that you truly believe in, you will not fail. You will always be successful with it, because you're going to continue to push. Even when you do fail, you're going to pick yourself up and you're going to be successful the next time. I was watching a video of a gymnastic person, whatever, I don't know the proper term for that. Gymnast, yeah. Is that it?
Yeah.
Okay, gymnast. And it was her. She was doing these incredible flips, but she would always fail. And it shows like the progress of like week 1 to month 1 to month 2 to month 3 to month 4 to month 5. It took her 8 months to master this like crazy ass triple, quadruple turn flip or whatever, right? But you can see the passion in her as she's like failing, right? It looked horrible the first time she did it, but she's a professional gymnast, but horrible the first time she did it. Second time she did it, horrible. Week later, horrible. Month, actually was able to kind of land it. 2 months, was actually able to land it, but still fell. 3 months, still able to land it, still falling. 4 months, actually landed it once. Then she got more, accurate with it, and was able to land it 50% of the time. Then it was 70% of the time. Then it was 100% of the time. And so you look at that and you say, well, my goal is I have to land this, and I don't care how long it's going to take me. If it's 10 months, I'm going to keep doing it until I get that 100% success rate. I have to train my mind to go and do it, because I have that empirical belief in myself that I can eventually do it. And I think that's what makes great athletes. That's what makes great business people. That's what makes people successful, is you flip your mind into saying, listen, I am tired of being overweight. I am tired of feeling like shit every day. I'm tired of feeling, like I can't accomplish anything with my own self. And I have to believe that if I apply myself to this, and I have this belief that if I do this every day, I have no choice, that I will better myself, it will work. It's in here. Like, everything we do is in here. It's all in here, whether it's success, whether it's, family life, whether it's working out, whatever, it's all in here. Like, we just have to change this, and everything else falls in line.
Agreed. And actually, just to go back to your potentially slightly morbid and dark conversation about family, I don't know if you ever watched the interview with Eddie Hall after he pulled the world record deadlift to 500 kilos, which is like 1,100 and something pounds. He talks about sort of what he had to go through mentally and the mindset. And he uses the example of like, these crazy acts of like if a kid's car stuck on, or if your kid's stuck under a car, like being able to lift the car and stuff like that, just with the adrenaline. He says he did a lot of work mentally and actively took himself to that place as if his kids were underneath. And that's what he used to actually pull the deadlift, the world record deadlift. So it's like that, the work that he did in mind was much more than the work that he did to actually do the deadlift. So yeah, I mean, all in your mind for sure. I think for me, the mindset stuff is being able to do things hopefully, or knowing, or in blind faith that the result will come at the other side of it. And almost, I guess, if we're talking specifically about training, it's like understanding failure and knowing that failure is part of the process. Because I think that a lot of reasons that people don't do things is because they're afraid of failure. Whereas I think if you actively go into the gym and train, not go into exercise, but like train to be better, you actively seek out failure. Like failure is what you're looking for. And if you can take that from the gym, and as we said before, like all of these are transferable skills into every other aspect of your life. If you can take that want for failure or need for failure and look at it in every other aspect of your life and be okay with the feeling of failure, then you just know that it's a part of the process and everything else that you're doing.
So let's apply it to lifting really quick. So when I was getting to my 500-pound deadlift, right? You know how many times I failed getting to that point and how frustrated I was with myself because I couldn't get there.
Many.
And then eventually I had a 600, and it's pushing yourself past failure and learning from that. So what did I do? Well, I improved my technique a bit more. I got stronger. I applied different training mechanisms to my muscles differently. I did things differently, obviously with guidance with you to push me to a way that I could allow myself to eventually get to that point, again, with a lot of hard work and effort. Mechanically, I had to change how I deadlifted. I had to look at things differently. I had to push things differently. And those are things that we have to look at of how do we get to those desired results, based on what we have available to us. Like I'm never going to be, doing 1,000-pound deadlift. It's just not in my genetics, nor is that a goal of mine. First of all, it would be freaking cool. Like if I could do 1,000-pound deadlift,
I have no interest in that.
No,
like, no interest.
But it'd be cool though. Wouldn't it be just like one day just like pull 1,000
yes,
pounds?
It would be cool, but also like cool. Fuck that. I would say no way.
Like the king head honcho alpha male in the gym, by lifting 1,000 pounds, they're like, oh shit, like that. And then you'd be like, yeah.
Have you seen the guy? Have you seen the reels of the guy? He's a power lifter, but he's quite small and he's very lean.
Totally. And it's all
yes, and he's like these massive dudes. He's hilarious, and he's like lifts it up with one arm to like clean under the. It's fucking hilarious.
Ripped dude is deadlifting. Let's just say 500 pounds an hour until he just does it with one hand. He's a janitor, so he's like, before he's like,
fucking hilarious.
Real quick, and he picks it up and moves, and the guy's like, what the, because the guy's really small. Like that's the power lifters, man. Some of those guys like just look like tiny little frames, and they can just pull so much weight. It's incredible feats of nature. But yes, I think when you look at how hacking your health improves other areas, let's take this down to an actual focused, a focused look on what we're talking about. So let's just say you're starting off or you're mid journey. It's always about how do you iterate and improve, just like we would want to improve on coding, right? You release a new version of your code, probably going to have some bugs, probably not going to be the most efficient, but it works, right? And so as you get better, you improve it, or maybe you rewrite it because there's a better way of doing it, or there's a new language out, or a new update that breaks your code itself. It's the same thing we're doing with our bodies. We're iterating and making ourselves better by breaking ourselves down and working ourselves in a different way. And, I look at, I was just right before the podcast, I was looking at a new study on some specific supplement that I'm probably going to add, to my regimen. But it's like, how do I continuously improve? It's, and I can't pronounce this right. It's Exastistin, huge, insanely powerful antioxidant. A lot of people claim it does it fixes wrinkles and things like that. There's no evidence that it does that at all, but it's a huge, powerful antioxidant. But anyways, when you look at how we try to improve ourselves, like for me, I looked at, mind and body as completely intertwined. And what I found was once I had those tools, we talked about this earlier, the tools that I had that, hacking your health specifically instilled in me applied to business. It applied to my marriage and my family. It applied to my priorities and what was most important versus all this other noise that I don't necessarily need to deal with. But one thing it also did was it improved my health, right? And with improved health came better brain functionality, cognitive functionality, ability to complete complex tasks, to push myself even forward, harder and forward. But it also gave me this sense of adversity. And yes, I'd already had this because I started my own company. But going through painful situations, like I see people that freak out over the smallest things, like just smallest things that literally you're like, listen, man, if you were in Iraq, you would literally shit your pants. Like you would just be pissing and shitting yourself every day. Like you have no idea what this is. Like if someone's shit talking you, okay, who cares? If people shit talk me every day, I could care less. Like it does not bother me, right? Now what does bother me is when I get, bad form feedback. But other than that, like anything else doesn't really bother me. But, you look at the stressors that a lot of people get stressed out about, they're not a big deal. Like maybe they're a big deal to you, but if you look at the grand scheme of things in your life, they're so tiny. And, there was I think it was Chuck Norris talking about this, and he's in the interviewer was like, Chuck, what bothers you or what keeps you up at night? What worries you? He's like, nothing. He's like, nothing. He's like, why would I worry about something that I have no control over? I'm like, okay. He's like, well, think about it. 99% of the things that people worry about are either A, never as bad as they intend to be, or B, you usually work themselves out in some way. So why am I going to sit there and worry about things that I have no control over? Or B, if I do have control over, it's going to be probably a non-event or non-issue. Or if C, I actually have to go and do it, I'm going to address it and resolve it, and then it's going to be done, and I don't have to worry about it anymore. It's such a good way of looking at things, right? Like, why do we worry about the unknown? Why do we worry about the small things that really aren't big deals in our lives? And I'll see this from time to time with like friends and family and things like that. But I'm like, why are you like pissed at this one random dude at Drug Mart that cut in front of you in line? Like, is that really going to wreck your week? Like, is that 4 minutes or 30 seconds that person's going to check out because they cut in front because they didn't see you in the first place? Like, really going to wreck your entire time? Like, is that a big deal? Or, is me making sure that, I get certain things out for my business and that things are functioning the right way? Is that what I should be focusing my time on? Maybe not worrying, but focusing my time on versus worrying about something stupid, that happened. Or, hey, everybody gets pissed off at somebody that cuts them off in the driveway. But some people, like, it bothers them the entire day. Like, I can't believe that dude cut me off. Like after I give somebody the finger, or like, listen, I'm a Christian. I'm definitely not a Christian when I'm driving. There's like that goes out the window, right? But it's right there, and it's a point in time, right? So, I'm not upset the rest of the week or the day or whatever. It didn't ruin my day. But it's one of those things that I think if you're able to take the tools of like hacking your health and your mindset and apply that to the rest of your life, like the things that are considered big problems in your life probably aren't as big as you think they are. And there's tools available because you're putting yourself through adversity all the time in weightlifting. You have to push yourself to max levels, things you've never done before, things you didn't think was possible. You push yourself above those, or you do things successful in life, it applies directly to everything you do.
Agree. And how I'll phrase that is, I feel like the gym and challenge yourself in that way, for me personally, and I see it with clients too, it allowed me to build my bullshit bandwidth. So like just those things like that probably used to bother me before, I just don't give a fuck about because I have a bigger bandwidth for all the bullshit. I can't remember specifically. I'm going to give my mum credit for this, who didn't crack up, by the way, from my navigating that conversation that we recorded on Monday. So I think we were safe. When we're talking about worrying things, and I use this quite a lot, there's no point in worrying about it twice. So there's no point in me worrying about something that might happen. If it does happen, I'll worry about it then. Like I'll worry about it, I'll sort it out then. But there's no point in me worrying about it because it may or may not happen. And as he says, it may or may not be in my control. So no point worrying about things twice. If we move on to lifestyle, I think this is an important one because from my understanding, hackers and cybersecurity industry as a whole doesn't necessarily lead a healthy lifestyle. So how can we use the tools that we have when we hack health to live a better lifestyle, to be a better hacker?
Yeah. So I'll give you a perspective of what it used to be versus what it is today. So what it used to be, I'd be out till 2, 3, 4 o'clock partying, drinking with friends at conferences, and then getting up at, 7, 8 o'clock to be right where I needed to be. And, what I've realized is that I can still have just as much fun and go to bed at 10:30 or 11, and I don't need to get myself completely intoxicated to go and do that. Right. And I think people appreciate that. There's the people that go out and party all night long, and hey, more power to you. But, years and years and years of that really had impacted my health. I was not doing well, heart issues, my blood work was off the charts. I mean, I was running myself to the grave essentially, much faster than not. And, you look at cybersecurity in general in IT, sedentary lifestyles, not always moving around, have a lot of high stressors that we have to deal with. And these are legit stressors, right? Breaches of companies, or you having to deal with major security events. Like those are stressors. Those are legit, like those are things that I'd be stressed out about, right? Having to deal with so much workload when you don't have enough people, the list goes on. And so you have high stress, we're usually fixated on a specific problem. So usually a lot of non-sleep, don't get a lot of sleep. And most likely a lot of folks are drinking and not eating properly, right? So you have this sedentary lifestyle to couple that, and we're not living healthy lifestyles. And, I think, again, going back to what do you want to accomplish? Well, you can be an amazing cybersecurity professional and also be healthy. It's possible, but it comes down to your choice. Do you really want that? It's going to require you to take breaks and go up and get a walk in. If you've been sitting all day, it's going to require you, instead of just ordering pizza, from DoorDash, to go make yourself a sandwich. It's going to require you to, get up early before, everybody else is, the butt crack of dawn or at night, and get your lifts in or your cardiovascular work in, so that you can live this healthy lifestyle. And it's a choice, but no one else can make it but you. And the tools are there. It's not your genetics. It's not anything else. It's you, right? And you can make that choice to change yourself for the better if you want to do it. And again, it's framing your mindset the right way, and it's living that lifestyle of that mindset. You have to make that dream of what you want to accomplish a reality, and recognize that it's not going to be perfect. You're not going to know what the hell you're doing. You're going to have to figure things out as you go along. And then eventually you're going to get good at it. And eventually you're going to start to see results. And eventually, those results, you're going to be like, well, it's not good enough. I want to keep going. And you're going to continuously try to iterate and improve. And I think, when you talk about lifestyle, like for me, I'm very regimented in how I do things. I've talked about this before on the podcast around my mindset on, my goal is if I don't feel like going to the gym or Orange Theory or whatever it is, I go there and I break a sweat. And after I've broken a sweat, I can leave. That's my rule. Like that's just a rule I gave myself, right? So even if I have 100-degree temperature, I'm going to the gym, breaking a sweat. I have my own private gym. I just want to throw that out there. I'm not going to the gym and getting people sick. But coming back and leaving that. So, but I've never left the gym. Now there's days where I'm like, I'm going to lift in the afternoon just because I had a rough night, but I'm still getting that lift in no matter what, because I live that lifestyle. I cannot skip that day, unless I'm injured or something else.
Even then, probably won't skip it.
What's that?
Even then, probably won't skip it.
Probably won't skip it. We'll continue to do it, right? I have to say I've been pretty good on being knock on wood. I haven't had an injury in quite a while, which is great. But it's living the lifestyle that you need to in order to get to that desired result. And I remember, we talked about this story a few times, but I remember like the first time I was like a year into working with you, and I was extremely like down that rabbit hole of never messing up on my macros. Like I was methodical for a year, not going over my calories and sticking right to the plan. I remember one night I was at a poker thing with one of my buddies, my next door neighbor, Paul. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go over. I'm going to eat, a couple extra pieces of pizza. I think I went over like 400 calories, something like that. And the next morning I'm like, I'm back to Fat Dave. I'm the whole thing's done. Like I've lost everything I've done. My whole accomplishments of this whole year has just been thrown out the window because I had one day that I had beer and pizza. And, obviously that wasn't the case. It was different moderations, but I was living that lifestyle. Right. And I've been able to adjust and learn from that I don't need to do that all the time. And I can, be high in calories one day, lower on calories another, bank calories, do whatever I need to do. But I'm still living that lifestyle. And, I think it's those changes that you start to incorporate in your life. And, you have to get your partners, bought off on it as well, because obviously it's a time commitment for them. But, I think one of the biggest things, and you probably hear this all the time, Ben, is, how am I going to explain this extra time to my family? Well, if you explain to your family, like, hey, I'm not where I want to be. I don't like my health. I don't like how I feel. I'm really just run down all the time, and I need to do something to better myself and time for myself. I have to imagine that conversation would go really well. Once they recognize the importance it is to you and your own mental health and your own ability to spend time doing this, I think the lifestyle will start to change.
Yeah, and I think that oftentimes that's a difficult conversation to have, especially I know as a male, there's a certain don't want to be seen to not be in a good place to hold your shit together for everybody else. So I know that that's a difficult conversation to have. And I will say with the lifestyle stuff, I'm not here to tell you that you need to live this way. If you want to get fucked up all the time and that's the shit that you want to do, like I have lived that life too. I used to absolutely love doing that. Like that was what I wanted to do whenever I was in my 20s. And that was okay. Like I used to pride myself in the amount of alcohol that I used to be able to consume. And I probably still can do it. And I don't want to, but I've put enough reps in doing that. I'm probably okay to do it now. But I think things that you potentially need to be aware of if you are going to go down this path and start making those changes. A lot of the time, whenever you start making those changes, the people around you, maybe not your close family, but like the people around you or your circle, won't necessarily understand. And again, I'm speaking from my own experience in this, so I'm just making assumptions for other people. But I find that people will always want you to be on their level, and they definitely will see if they see a positive change in you and you starting to take control of things and they're not doing the same. There's like this, they see themselves like mirror themselves that they're not doing that, so they don't feel as good. So there definitely is a lot of friction that comes within that, so you need to be okay with that too. But I think for me, the lifestyle piece and why I choose lifestyle is I want to teach and educate people that you can do all of these things in moderation. So it doesn't need to be going out and getting fucked up 3 or 4 nights a week. But if you're at a conference, or even, for example, I'll use lifting camp as an example, like not that anybody was getting fucked up, but we definitely shared many margaritas and had a good time. And I think that for me, we get together every so often. People, they work hard in the gym. We order crumble cookies that are fucking 800 calories each, and we have a couple of margaritas. Like, to me, that's exactly what the lifestyle piece is about. Like, you look after yourself 90% of the time, you eat well, you go hang out with some people who are on a similar journey, you train hard for the day, and you enjoy a couple of drinks later on. It's not a case of you don't have that piece of the puzzle in your life, like you don't have that anymore. And actually, a slide that I shared recently, it was a then versus now. I'm going to be sharing Twitter later on today. It was then versus now. There's a photo of me like party shooting a bottle of Hennessy. So the bottle of Hennessy was in my mouth, no hands. That used to be my trick, is you drink the whole thing. And the now was the picture of me in Belfast at the Belfast lifting camp. I was on my laptop taking the group call, but I was drinking a pint of Guinness. And I think that shows like I can still drink and have a good time. Like, I'm not saying that you can't do it. I can still eat pizza. Yeah. I can still eat cookies, like all of those things. But I just fit it into the lifestyle that I want to do. And it's the weighing up as to like, okay, I don't want to be here as the fucking pisshead from before. I know there's better options, and living 90 to 95% of the time in line with the goal of whatever that is.
Yep. And I think that's, the moderation pieces of things, right? Doing things slowly, progressively over time. And that's, how we learn anyway. It's not like, you're going to be powerlifting, 600 pounds in a month. It's learning the technique and form. It's trying to figure out the best way of doing things, the best way that works for your body. From there, progressively overloading and getting harder with it and getting more, again, if that's your objective. So it's just, the small wins that we have to change our lifestyles that make us different. And that change of you with the big bottle of Hennessy versus the Guinness didn't happen overnight. That's an evolution of many things that you've learned over time to improve yourself and to find that balancing act that works for you. And only you will be able to figure that out if you go down that journey. It's like make your own destiny. If you decide never to go down that road, well, you're never going to learn it. And you shouldn't expect, different results if you're not changing your life or your mind or anything else that goes along with it. So it's just really having those habits, I think, that start to come into play that allow you to change and to become a better person.
Agree. So the next pillar is nutrition. I think that sort of feeds into the lifestyle one a bit, but I think to sort of, I guess, delve a little bit deeper, to specifically related to how you can show up and be a better hacker. For me, it's a case of the quality of the food that you put in your body will literally dictate the energy levels that you have. So if you eat like an asshole, you're going to feel like an asshole. Like, that is the simplest way that I can put it. I know myself, when I eat well and I eat healthy foods and I don't overconsume, I can focus better, I can show up better, I can coach better, I can hold a conversation better. Whereas if I had I'll use pizza for example. If I had eaten a pizza an hour ago, I probably would have been a little bit sluggish on the podcast here. I probably wouldn't be able to engage in a conversation or think as quickly because of how my body sort of processes it. So from a new nutrition perspective, focus on the quality of the foods that you put into your body to get better quality in terms of the focus and output you have on the other side.
Yep. And nutrition, everybody's like, well, what diet should I do, or what should I be focusing on nutrition wise? Listen, if you don't have the mindset or lifestyle to support it, then the nutrition is not going to be anything beneficial for you. Because you're not going to be consistent with it. You're not going to know what to do. You're not going to improve yourself. You're not going to live the lifestyle to be able to do it. So nutrition ends up being a huge piece of it. And yeah, I think just the fundamentals of understanding macros, proteins, carbohydrates, and fats, and how those apply to your body and caloric intake, like those things all come into play when you want to understand nutrition and how your body actually works. And again, it's a foundation of mindset and lifestyle that eventually promotes the nutrition piece.
Agree. And again, I'll see this as a bit of an evolution, and I know you'll take credit from changing from body, nutrition, lifestyle, and mindset to swapping the other way around. But over the past couple of weeks, whenever I've been putting sort of presentations and slides together, number one, yes, for the aesthetics of drawing the diagram. But as I sort of went through it, I think if we think about the first three pillars, if you focus on them, so you focus on the mindset, you focus on the lifestyle, and you focus on nutrition, you get the fourth one, like you get the body as a byproduct. So it's like if you nail all of those three things, and they're the things that you focus on, the outcome will be a better physique, a better body on the other side, whatever that ends up being, like whatever your goal is with that, leaner, bigger, faster, stronger, whatever it is, you get that as a byproduct from the work that you put in from the other three pillars.
100%. Really agree. I mean, Ed.
I think that's okay. Do you have anything that? No, but I do think I think that is enough to be said on that. And I went through that presentation with Thomas's team last week, and I think that we'll say the four pillars have become three. We'll use this, whatever date it is, the 15th of May, 2024. The four pillars have now become three of We Hack Health, because you get the last one as a byproduct. So the three things that you focus on: mindset, lifestyle, and nutrition. And whenever you nail those, you get the last one as a byproduct.
100% agree. It's awesome.
So there you go.
Well, that was a great podcast, man. Got deep in this one.
Thanks. It was a great podcast for you too.
Well, I appreciate everybody listening to this week's Hacking Your Health podcast. Just remember, everything we talked about here, just scrap it and just start taking ketones, and everything just works out perfectly fine.
And if you've never been into the gym before, just go and put 600 pounds on the deadlift bar, and you'll be able to pull it within about 3 or 4 weeks.
If you can't do it, something's wrong. Like you just got to try harder. Yeah. So
just try harder. If you can't lift it, just try harder.
Try it again. Just keep trying until you can do it. So, but thanks everybody for listening to this week's podcast. We'll catch you again next week, same time, same place. Later.
See ya.